Hi, my name is Zach. I live in Brooklyn, New York, about 15 minutes away from Manhattan. I've been here for about a year and a half. I am an ER nurse, as well as I'm in film school in the evenings. Obviously, at work, we're a lot more cautious. We're wearing a lot more gear. You're kind of a little bit more on edge than you used to be, a little bit more careful about what you're touching and where you're going, and there's just kind of maybe more of a tension going on, as well as just staffing, for example. You know, if I put a thermometer in my mouth and I get 100 degrees, I'm home for 2 weeks, you know, and so there's been like short staffing, and to account for that, there's hundreds of nurses coming into New York almost daily to try to help from all over the nation, which is great, but it also means that people are unfamiliar, and so everyone's kind of acclimating together, and it's kind of been a little bit of an intense process to try to figure out what's all going on. From a film perspective, we were just getting ready to shoot all of our short films, so we had casted and gotten locations and scripts and organized everything and rented the gear, and then the day before we were supposed to shoot, everything just ground to a screeching halt. So everything's shifted to online, and we're kind of trying to figure out, well, what can you actually do that's useful in terms of film education online? And there's some things, but it's definitely not what we signed up for. It feels like everything's changed. I think probably maybe more so for people who aren't working at all, but I can tell you that I'm mostly in my apartment. You try not to leave unless you absolutely have to. All the things that you get accustomed to doing in terms of eating out or going to get coffee or meeting a friend to do this type of thing or exercise or yoga student, whatever, all of that's off the table. And so 99% of things is what can you do in your little space that you have at home. And some people are prepared for that and other people aren't. In New York, specifically, people just can't afford places. So generally you don't have your own of everything, you rent everything. Or rent spaces, and so it's kind of exposed a pretty big flaw in New York. The current mood of New York is pretty somber. I mean, New York is known for being New York, right? It's boisterous, and people are always going and doing things and traveling and being wild, and there's just activity nonstop for better or worse. And all that's stopped. I mean, Broadway's been out for weeks, which has never happened. Around Christmas time, around Rockefeller Center, they were talking about permanently closing multiple blocks because there were so many people that people were literally walking around in like a concert atmosphere to get around because it was so crushed. So to go from that and then, you know, walking around Midtown where there's literally nobody for blocks is really eerie. And I think a lot of New Yorkers are kind of, well, not kind of are, they're afraid. It feels predominantly negative. Adjusting to everything is hard. I mean, the emotional impact is really difficult. New York can be kind of a lonely place anyways, even though there's so many people. Maybe a positive would be that when you're forced to spend time alone, it's kind of scary and you have to actually think about yourself, as weird as that sounds, in terms of how much am I distracting myself with other people and with events to stay away from deep thinking or from thinking about my life, or if I'm happy about with what I'm doing, or parts of my life that I've always wanted to work on that I never have. When you're in quarantine, all those things come up to the surface because you're just not able to distract yourself. And so it's kind of painful, but I would say that's a positive thing just in terms of maybe self-betterment. But mostly bad.